I do want to also acknowledge the two living members, charter members, Dr. Richmond Kennard, who couldn't be with us today. But then I want to give a big shout out to Dr. McKinley Mays. Dr. Mays, where are you? Dr. Mays in here? Okay. And yes, Dr. Mays is not only one of the two founding members who are still living, but he is a phenomenal champion of education, and I want to give him a big, I know I'm in Rattler country, but I tell you, just being the Aggie that I am, I want to give a big Rattler shout out, Aggie shout out to Dr. Mays, and say Aggie pride to him. We both graduated, got our degrees from a public land-grant university, the largest public HBCU in the nation, I might add, North Carolina A&T State University. On March 9th, 1891, the Agricultural and Mechanical College for the colored race, it was called then, was founded. It was the second college established under the provisions of the Morrill Land Grant Act of 1890, and look at us now, look at all of us now. We are HBCU strong. You know, we have such a phenomenal history as HBCUs. And, you know, I told my grandson, who's graduating in Greensboro this year, you know, I really want you to be an Aggie, but at any rate, as long as you go to an HBCU, that's the only place Nana's money is going to go. So he's going to Washington, and he wants to go to Howard. But, you know, I continue to ask the question, to answer the question when people ask, why do we need HBCUs? And my response always is, what in the hell would we do without our HBCUs? You know, today we are celebrating the contributions that have persisted since that triumphant moment in American history when this nation boldly addressed discrimination by creating a system of institutions that were so strong and so vital that they have persisted and excelled well beyond the laws that sustained legal discrimination for almost a century. Folks, you need to know that this is one of the most important issues that I protect and defend in Washington, D.C. each and every day, and I don't apologize for it at all. I am proud and privileged to be an active member of the House Education and Labor Committee and the Subcommittee on Higher Education, and I'm excited to chair the House Education and Labor Subcommittee on Workforce Protections. And yes, Dr. Thompson, we passed out the Raise the Wage bill last week. We passed out equal pay for equal work, and we passed out an infrastructure bill for our schools. You know, I'm pleased as well to serve as vice chair of the House Agriculture Committee and to serve on the Agriculture Subcommittee on Nutrition. You know, as has been said, when your belly's growling and you need to eat, it doesn't matter whether you're a Democrat or a Republican or whether you don't claim any party at all. So you clearly see where my heart is. I'm flexing my muscles. I'm poised to do battle wherever and whenever I can. And through this committee work, I'm taking action and I'm speaking up on a wide range of issues. And I always like to say, I'm going to speak up, I'm going to stand up, and I'm going to cut up when I have to. Sometimes that's necessary. But you know what? That's just what Aggies do. You know, in Congress, I am addressing the disparities that exist amongst institutions of higher education and the students who attend them. I'm particularly proud to have been on the conference committee that helped secure key resources for 1890 land-grant universities in the 2018 Farm Bill. It was a bipartisan bill. We had more people to vote for this bill than we ever had before. I did work to, thank you. I did work to include the provision to fix a discriminatory issue in the law, which prohibits 1890s from carrying over more than 20% of their extension funding from one fiscal year to the next. And I just can't imagine why anybody thought black folk couldn't count. You know, we can count. So now we can carry over 100%, just as the 1862s have always been able to do. Additionally, I helped secure language outlining the authorization of at least 3 1890 centers of excellence. And these centers will focus on and increase the research capacity of our schools, of the research that you're doing and research that we've heard about that's going on at Florida A&M and other schools, and it will lead to more innovative solutions to our nation's agricultural challenges. I strongly supported the inclusion of Representative David Scott's 1890s scholarship, which is also in the Farm Bill. And of course, he's a graduate of Florida A&M. All right, give it rattlers. Let's rattle that out. You know, these scholarships will provide 1890s $2 million each to support African American students pursuing careers in agriculture. A glaring inequality that still exists, correcting, is the persistent funding disparity between 1862s and 1890 land grant institutions. And before I left Washington last week, I was telling Dr. Thompson, we sent a letter with several of my colleagues signing it as co-signers to the House Subcommittee on Agriculture, asking for all of the money that we needed. And matter of fact, it was a little bit more we were asking for too. And I was telling them, you know, the Bible says, ask and you shall be given. And you know, if we don't ask, we know we're never going to get, and we may not get it when we ask, but certainly we need to do that. But these letters request funding for the Evans Allen program that we are celebrating here today and the inauguration of the symposium. It will also support centers of excellence and the capacity building grants, as well as the facilities grants programs for the fiscal year 2020. But it's important, you know, to have that language in the Farm Bill. But it's also important to make sure that we reach out to the appropriators, they're the ones with the money, to make sure that they allocate the money as well. I know I'm preaching to the choir, but we're all in this together. And we've always done a lot with little, but we can't continue to do that, and we shouldn't be expected that our schools should do that as well. HBCUs cannot keep making up for what the state government is unwilling to do, providing the necessary funding for 1890s to receive all of the funds that they are legally required to be given by their states. You know, I served in the North Carolina House, and I know just how mischievous sometimes state legislators can be. But we have to hold them accountable. And what this bill does now is also require a report that will come back to the Congress, and we'll be able to have some data, so maybe we can just embarrass them a little bit into doing the right thing. But nevertheless, we need to make sure that we do that. So we've got to make sure that even though transparency won't fix this problem, it's a good start. And like I said before, maybe when we put them on the spot, they'll do what's right. I want you to listen carefully to this quote. Upon the subject of education, not presuming to dictate any plan or system respecting it, I can only say that I view it as the most important subject which we as a people can be engaged in, that every man may receive at least a moderate education and thereby being able to read the histories of his own and other countries by which he may duly appreciate the value of our free institutions, appears to be an object of vital importance. President Abraham Lincoln said those words in March of 1832. The belief in the power of education to transform and to offer opportunity and access to all is at the heart of one of the most transformative pieces of education legislation of Lincoln's presidency, and that was the Morrill Act of 1862. Well, he was on the right track, but change had to come, and eventually we know that it did. I just think in settings like this, that it is so important to note that these words on the power of education were delivered during Lincoln's first known political announcement. This from a man whose education was of the bootstrap variety, an education based on the foundations of borrowed books read by lanterns in the Kentucky frontier. But today we, of course, would amend Lincoln's pronouns to be more inclusive. But the statement's intent is hardly dated even 177 years after the fact. So education will not only enlighten us, free us from our unending human curiosity, increase our personal wealth and job satisfaction, but it will impel us and compel us to become more active and more able participants in America's democracy. So who can argue with that mandate? It was a profound faith in education. And so, if you will, what Lincoln said was based on his faith that given the great transforming tools of education, that we will use them for the common good of humankind. And I always like to remember W.E.B. Du Bois, who said of all of the civil rights for which the world has struggled and fought for 500 years, the right to learn is undoubtedly the most fundamental. And so I appreciate this organization and all of our HBCUs who believe in that fundamental right for our students. You see, in 1890, universities have produced more minority educators, agricultural professionals, health professionals, military leaders, and scientists of color than any other universities in the nation. However, we continue to receive less federal and state funding than our sister 1862 land-grant institutions, and that is not right. This, of course, is exacerbated by changes in federal financial aid policies that disproportionately impact students who attend our 1890 schools. And ultimately, this threatens enrollment, it threatens retention, and the capacity of our universities to prepare more leaders, innovators and graduates of color in STEM and STEAM and food and agricultural sciences and other high-demand fields. Additionally, our challenges in reaching and preparing youth for leadership in science and technology and agriculturally based professions limit our selection pool of higher education and occupational advancement. But you know, we can do better. We must do better. And if I have my way, we're gonna do better. You know, I think I can speak for everyone in this room when I say we're just not gonna stand for that anymore. We have come too far, and we're going to make sure that things will be better for our schools and for the students who attend them. You know, our 1890s have helped open the doors of access and opportunity, and they have empowered students with the education that they need. Our institutions have also developed a groundbreaking research that's moved our country forward, and these institutions continue to provide rural communities in each state with robust solutions to the challenges that they face, both agriculturally and socially. There's at least one land-grant institution in every state and territory in the United States, and even in the District of Columbia. And I'm a proud graduate twice of one of them, North Carolina A&T, an HBCU, kind of like what the president said, that saw the potential in a poor black girl, first-generation student from the ghetto of Newark, New Jersey, whose mom did domestic work, cleaned other folks' houses. But that school molded and shaped me into what they knew I could become, and that's why I'm HBCU strong today. And I tell you what, I spent 4 years and then 2 more in graduate school at A&T. But I was able to go on to the Ohio State University only because of the North Carolina A&T. Now that's what our HBCUs will do for us. That 1 year this brother had, look at him now. You know, today, land-grant colleges and universities continue their mission to provide equitable access to education, developing innovations that continue to strengthen individual states and the country. Americans lead richer, productive, and more prosperous lives because of the contributions that land-grant university system has made. And let me be specific. We see great futures in meeting the challenges in food and agriculture research. We're winning. Let me just take a few minutes and break it down to you. From Alabama A&M's unique watershed project on the Flint River to Prairie View A&M's 4-H efforts in creating the next generation of entrepreneurs. And yes, you've heard about what they're doing here at FAMU, a young scientist. They cloned a key gene from what was it, muscadine grapes, identifying and using the grapes' antioxidants as a dietary supplement, to North Carolina A&T's cutting-edge research with in the farm field. And what about Tuskegee Institute, where researchers have targeted reduction in parasites in meat animals by using molecule and genetic-based technologies? Aren't you excited by now? All of the things our HBCUs and our 1890s are doing. Our colleges and universities are shaping the future of American agriculture. And we back and support these institutions that are willing to serve people, to allow people who might otherwise be denied an education, accessibility to that education. They could not be in better settings to participate in groundbreaking work in our three-pronged mission of research, education, and extension. The work we're seeing is indeed impressive. More productive crop varieties, more substantial farming practices, and a safer, better food preservation in terms of those techniques. And I mean, there is an unflinching commitment to the ideas that knowledge is power, and we know power is what makes the difference in lives and communities. These ideas and initiatives will be key to improving health and well-being around the globe. The importance of researchers at land-grant institutions on food safety and security around the world is tremendously significant, and it should be. The land-grant mission has been and continues to be improving the lives of citizens of the United States predominantly, but citizens all over the world. We're also looking to the future, knowing that there will always be people in the world without food. There are people in states all over our country without food. In my district, we have 162,000 people who are food insecure. 50,000 of those are kids going to bed hungry every night. So people who do not have the tools or the opportunities to lift themselves out of poverty need that stability. And that's why I started the Adams Hunger Initiative after coming to Congress, to bring stakeholders together to the table to ensure that there would be food on every table. And with the challenges facing the world today, it's imperative that we remember the legacy of the scientists and the teachers who came before us, and that we continue, ARD, to build on their work, to increase the world's food supply, improve the environment, and build on our knowledge of the world around us. And let me just close by reminding you that I want everyone to know that there are hundreds and thousands of African American successful contributors to this nation and the world who would not have achieved that success if they have not had the way out towards education that 1890s provided and still provide for African Americans. So let's be thankful for all of those who labor and who toiled in this space, for carrying on the extraordinary pilgrimage and honor the distinction of carrying forth and making sure that deep in our hearts, these words echo through this room. I'm talking about the words of George Washington Carver, when he said to Booker T. Washington, "Let us remember them today." When he told Booker T. this, "I pledge to you that I will do everything that I can through the strength of Christ who strengthens me to better the condition of our people." We are here to carry on that challenge. ARD, you are here to continue to plant those seeds of progress. Because, you know, somebody once said that a community can only grow great when old men and old women plant trees under which we know we will never sit. Thank you. God bless.
Thank you, Congresswoman Adams. We will give her another round of applause. Would you please approach the podium again, Congresswoman Adams, and on behalf of the 1890 Association of Research Directors, we'd like to present you with this vase. I'd like to read the inscription. Evans Allen Memorial Lecture, Congresswoman Alma S. Adams, 2019 ARD Research Symposium, Association of 1890 Research Directors. It's because you served the 1890 land grant system with such exemplary distinction.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. I don't have a vase either. I appreciate it.